so much for joining us this evening for the Melastoma Touchstone. We're back out in the Salt River. It's so beautiful. The birds are all having a sunset party, and the sky is really sort of like soupy and soft today. And I think because people thought it might rain, there aren't a million kayakers and swimmers out here today. So it's super quiet. I find that really interesting. It seems like every touchstone we do sort of embodies the energy of that month's elixir. If you remember last month, we were actually in the same spot, and there were two teenage girls having a ruckus, practically drowning and stuff. So today it's nice and quiet, except for the birds. And today we're going to start off with some speed journaling questions. I'll share a couple stories and ideas. A really cool story too. And then I'll tell you about the flower for next month. And then we'll send you on your way this evening. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, maybe a cup of water or tea, if you have your elixir with you, feel free to take it now. I accidentally left mine in the car. So I'm going to love my perfectly imperfect, left it in the car self, and it's so far away, I couldn't walk back to pick it up. So if you do have the elixir still, please take some. Take some for me too. And the first question is, man, I mean, we're just going to dive right into the tough ones here. Like I always do this, sorry. So take a deep breath, let it out, and remind yourself that you can write down whatever comes to your mind first. It doesn't have to make sense, just what comes out. Working on the perfectly imperfect. Okay, so the first question is, when do you notice yourself going into self-judgment or harshly self-criticizing yourself or getting impatient with yourself? Or even just like, is that something you can identify with? When does it usually happen? And then we're really going to get into the mucky muck. On the way out here, I'm sitting out on this stump in the middle of the river, and this river is kind of odd in that, like, it looks like a nice soft mud, but when you put your foot down, it sinks down like a foot deep into some pretty stinky muck. And I kind of love that there's some stinky muck under the beauty. So here we go. Is there any part of you that sometimes finds yourself being ashamed of a part of yourself? When do you feel ashamed of some part of yourself? And even if nothing comes to mind, just like sitting with that word, like shame, and just like letting it be there. And noticing its qualities. And just being okay with it. Being there. Here's a fun one. This is kind of like a comedy show here. What is imperfect about you? Doggone it. We're not perfect. What's imperfect about you? Another good one. When are you just not good enough? Like, just not good enough. like just not living up to the standard, the gold standard that you have for yourself. And again, thank you for being here. I realize this is a really funny way to spend your Saturday evening. We have to have a sense of humor about these things, right? So what happens when you welcome your imperfections with compassion? What does it feel like inside your body when you welcome the imperfections and the just not good enough and the just not reaching that gold standard that you set for yourself? Next question, have there been any moments this month as you're working with Melastoma where you noticed a side of yourself emerge that was maybe a little harsher than usual, or something that kind of caught your attention, like, oh, that's me? And what does it feel like when you sense those harsher aspects of yourself and you accept them anyway? I just had a thought that I've been spending a lot of time with an 8-year-old, and I think oftentimes we're, so hard on ourselves in a way that we aren't with children. And reflecting on the times that he like comes into the office or comes into the room and like screams or shouts or grunts or groans or moans like at the top of his lungs, and or it's too loud or hurts your ears, or kids do these things, right? And yet we don't shun them or judge them. We just love them as they are. We accept them as they are. That's part of the whole package. And it's also this momentary thing, right? If he comes in and he's like, it's a passing moment. And so if we take that approach with ourselves, it's such a kind way to go. Okay, and the very last question is sort of like a Zen koan. It isn't really a question that you need to write down an answer for. It's just like sitting with the feeling, okay? Just roll with me here. What happens, and just sort of feel what it feels like in your body. What happens if you're just not good enough? If you're a loser? If you just can't do it all? If there's something about you that is useless or disgusting or just not perfect? What if that were true? If some part of you were just not good enough and just a loser? And notice how that feels. Like, take it in. Notice that sensation. Notice if there's any secondary emotion, irritation, anger, humor, laughing, sadness. Why is she talking about this? And just sitting with all of it, feeling it, the quality of it. Okay. Because I remember my teacher saying something to me years ago when I first started out on the pretty intensive practices for my spiritual path. And this month it kind of reminded me of that. And he said, when you can look yourself, literally, this is my spiritual teacher saying this to me. When you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I am a loser. And you mean it. And you face it. Then you're getting somewhere. And that's like, for some people that comes across as too harsh, but if you really sit with it and you feel what it feels like, you can kind of feel the wisdom underneath that experience. Also reminds me of another brilliant thing he said many years ago. He said, when you feel so small and you feel so defeated and you feel so stupid and you just feel like you're just nothing but a speck of dirt on the ground, it is in that moment that you become the world. And so I think this month is a wonderful opportunity to welcome and invite all those aspects of ourselves in that we judge, that we think aren't perfect or aren't good enough or are too harsh or are too much or too whatever. I know maybe some of you have heard of the Japanese art called wabi-sabi, the perfection of imperfection, and they'll literally, in artistry, take like broken pottery and seal the cracks with solid gold. It's so beautiful, and it's kind of all of us. Right? It's just sealing up our cracks with solid gold. I had an interesting experience this month. I'm editing some poetry. I've been editing poetry for a couple years, and a couple years. It's crazy. I'm finally getting to the end. But this month I got an opportunity to see something in my work that I had never seen before. This kind of like cold, aloof, judgmental, and it was just like, ooh, oh my God, like yucky. Oh my God, like that's me. Really, did I really have that? So as long as we judge those parts of ourselves, we remain fragmented. And so what we want to do is embrace all of those aspects of ourselves, which then soften and dissolve and change shape and form anyway. It's when we push them away, when we don't want to see, that they become more fixed and solidified inside of us. And we embody them even more. I had a thought this morning. When you get good at accepting your shortcomings, you get even better at accepting your genius. And I find it also ironic that in the last week or so, I decided to stop after 3 years of doing podcast interviews and interviewing all these amazing people, that I would retire that form of the podcast and take all of that energy I've been expending on promoting and supporting and connecting to really amazing people in the world, to put all that energy into our vision of reaching 3% of the world's population with flower sensors. And that suddenly I felt this deeper level of commitment to put all of that juice into our vision, that it is worth it. And so I think there really is something to this idea of getting good at accepting your shortcomings, being directly correlating and related to being able to accept your genius and what you're here to do. So one of the last things I want to say before I invite Taylor in, and then at the end we'll do a meditation and a dedication, and then I'll tell you about the flower, is that we have this hashtag that we've kind of been playing around with called #FlowerEvolutionInsights. And you can choose how you decide to express whatever your insights are. Obviously, you don't have to express it publicly. It can be private. I don't know how many posts I did on my private account this month for pink melastoma was like love is. And then I just do like a brain dump, and then I would write Flower Evolution Insights, pink melastoma. So for me, that was a way to sort of like record what was I learning, what was I opening my eyes to or awakening to. And then Taylor had a really cool way of expressing or documenting what was happening to her at the same time. I think it's really important and interesting and intriguing to find ways that are more creative to reflect back these aspects to ourselves. So I'll let you tell your cool experience. Yeah. And if you want to check it out on Instagram, her handle is it still _? _Taylor Rico.
So I was actually really inspired by my friend Justin and Rita. They and Katie both doing the hashtag Flower Revolution Insights. Justin and Rita for the last 2 months did songs. They're both musicians and have amazing voices and play the guitar, and they wrote a song and it's on the Facebook group. So if you missed it, pop in there, and we posted them there. And Justin was like, you should do something. And I didn't really want to write anything. And I'm like, I don't really dance, but I could try a movement practice out. And so it started out just as like one movement. And then I really just wanted to dance. And so I didn't like make any rules for myself. I'm like, I can have music and I can not have music, and we'll see where it goes. And so by the end, I really loved choosing a song, which in itself was a reflection of how the day went and what I was feeling that day. And it's one of those things, sort of like flower essences, when you're doing it, you don't really know what's happening. But when you go back and look at what sort of like your before and after photo, you might not see the changes that are happening as they're happening, but when you go back and look at it, it's so obvious what's there. And so one of the things that was really apparent to me was there was a lot of like movement with this space, which I was taking open heart. So that was like kind of like a dance with my own heart space. And also like, you know, a warm embrace, which is what Pink Melastoma is all about. And then Katie made a really good observation of like my arms were always up, which the armpit was the spot that Erin gave us for the open heart acupressure point, which was crazy, you know, like opening up these channels, which in the moment I didn't know what was going on. And even if I'm not taking Pink Melastoma anymore, and I noticed that like I'm not really drawn to like doing this anymore, which is just wild to me. And then every time I would, like, obviously it's not the most comfortable thing to post yourself dancing on your Instagram. I mean, of the people that follow me, maybe 5% are taking flower essences and know what flower essences are, know what the flower revolution is. So I didn't really expect anyone to get what was going on, or what I was doing, or what I was tracking, or, you know, what it was. And so it's obviously not the most comfortable thing. So I would just like do it and post it and kind of forget that it was there. Because if I remembered that it was there, then I would just probably start to trip up, but wouldn't really overthink it. In the first few days I would post it, and then, you know, when it would come up or someone would respond, I wouldn't really like see anything that was there, or I didn't think it was interesting enough or different enough or had something that was special. And then it wasn't. And then I had a friend who went into like a major surgery, and she was like, I watched your dances, and I was laying there and it made me feel so good. I was just like dancing on it made me feel comfortable. And someone else said, if you think like, I love seeing this, it's making me feel so happy. And it was like, wow, okay, I don't have to try to be anything extra or be something that I'm not. Like, the way that I am is perfect. Like, with the imperfections, maybe I missed a beat. There was one that I posted where there's this Sheryl Crow song that I love, and it has this like really fun drum at the very beginning. And I've always like wanted to like move my body to that beat, but I just like could not do it. But I posted it anyways because I'm like, that's me. Like, I can't do it, and that is totally fine. And people love that. Let's see what else. It was also just like really playful, which was fun, and it was just my own thing, and I didn't really. It wasn't for anyone but myself, and that was. It was a really nice reflection of something that, like, it's not always easy to talk about your experience of a particular flower essence, but being able to go back, and it's on my highlights so you could watch it, and like if you see something, I'd love to know what you see. But mirroring back through movement and the music and where I was, and even like there was a particular day that I received like a super toxic message from someone, and I could see that in how I moved. And I don't even think I chose the song that day. And the way like my face looked, I was like, whoa, it really affected me. So like super fun to try something like that, whether it's movement or singing or poetry or painting. I encourage you to just choose something and see, and just commit to doing it for 1 month and see what's there. And I want to do it this month too, just to see how is it different, and it does relate to like what is going on with the flower essence.
Okay, so just a quick question. If someone were going to do exactly what you did,
Yeah,
they can choose music or not music. They set up their phone, and then did you dance to the whole song and then just pick out a clip?
Yeah.
Like your favorite clip?
Yep. And then what I was going to do was post, just like keep it in my phone, but then I'd have to put all the video together, and I just didn't really feel like doing that. So I would just post it every day. And
like how many seconds? Like 5, 6,
50, yeah, anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds. And it could be one movement. It could be to music, not to music. It could be slow. It could be funny. It could be
filters,
anything.
no filters.
Yeah, I chose to do a filter, and maybe I won't this time. I don't know, but it's fun to like not have rules. Yeah, I think that's it of what stuck out. It was also fun, like, to root for yourself like you would a friend. Like, yeah, keep going, post today. What are you gonna post today? Like every day I'd get home, I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? What song am I gonna do? What song did I listen to today that really hit me? And then dance to that. Super fun. Giving it back.
Okay. You should see. I wish I want to take a picture of you and put it out in the email because it's so cute. Taylor's like standing in the muck here. It's great. But yeah, I mean, if you're a painter, like let's say, or if you just like love painting, you could do like a really short watercolor every day, or a short drawing every day, or there's some kind of magic about capturing something every day or like throughout a time period. And this idea of like doing something for yourself, it's like a huge gift. I know sometimes I have like a conflict on my personal Instagram of like, geez, like sometimes I just post things that are like just for me to remember how precious they were, and it's like not for anyone. It just like, I'm like, does this benefit anyone? This is pointless. Like, and it's all also okay. Like you can just post something just for yourself to document it.
I think that's also really touching to other people though. Like I didn't do that for anybody else, but it did touch other people, which was super surprising, that just by creating a special offering of yourself, it touches other people.
It does touch other people. And then, you know, there's so much like, speaking of mucky muck, you know, there's so much mucky muck on social media. So like people will be excited to see your words or your poetry or your painting or your movement or your dance or your gesture or your muja or whatever. So if that's something that you guys want to explore, we just really want to encourage people to hashtag Flower Evolution Insights, share it. I think we can all really encourage each other to track it as well. Okay, so let's do a short meditation with the birds. Wherever you are, getting into a comfortable position, whether you're standing or sitting or lying down. Taking one deep breath and then blowing the air out your lips until every last little bit of air in your belly is expelled. And then taking another deep breath and then letting it out like a sigh of relief. And then taking another breath in, and notice what it feels like just to exhale naturally. Placing your awareness down into your heart center. I'm just going to make the intention that anyone on this call, since we've been doing this work together and downloading the pink melastoma throughout this month, that we amplify and magnify the effects of this particular flower in all of our systems, because we want it to be so. Why not? Just noticing in general the area of your heart and your chest and how it interfaces with the world. Notice how your heart center meets all of the space around you. Notice how your heart merges with space. Imagining, since we can't see it, that you could see the love emanating from your heart. And imagining or visualizing the love from your heart blending or intermixing with the space around your body, both to the front and also to the back of your heart. Of the space that resides behind your body. And then even the area underneath your armpits, where the love from your heart center extends out to the sides. And intermixes with the space around you to the sides, and in fact, all around your body. And since we live in this precious paradise on this earth, we know that the earth is full of compassion for us as humans. Understanding or visualizing that the space around us, to the front, and to the back, and to the sides, in all directions, is like a sea of compassion and love and acceptance. And that energy in the space meets our energy of love and compassion and acceptance. And visualizing that there are other flower revolutionaries around the world who are also visualizing this great compassion and love emanating from their heart center, meeting and intermixing with the great mother compassion space around them. And that in fact your love and compassion energy also blends and intermixes with the energy of the other flower revolutionaries, regardless of time or space. And you can include the love and the compassion emanating from the animals, the birds, and other humans in the environment. The innate compassion. until the entire planet is bathed and washed in this frequency. We state to ourselves that it is our intention to be beacons of these love and compassion and acceptance, self-acceptance and acceptance of others. And may it impact exponentially this world that we live in. Noticing your breath. Notice as you breathe into the space of compassion around you, and as you exhale into the space of compassion around you. And how it continually intermixes with your own compassion. Despite all the imperfections in the world. Despite all the imperfections, all the craziness, we can still embody the natural love and compassion that resides within us. So we'll just dedicate the time that we took to be here this evening, that we may, with the collective intentional power, multiply, expand, exponentially empower the depth and healing of the pink melastoma flower inside our bodies and energetic systems, and may it ripple out throughout the 3 times in 10 directions. And may it benefit us in countless ways. And may it benefit all the other flower evolutionaries in countless ways, and may it benefit all sentient beings everywhere on the planet in countless ways. And when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can open your eyes. And I'm just gonna do a small offering. On your behalf to this particular space. Of sound and flowers. Pink flowers. May all beings everywhere be pacified. May all beings everywhere have happiness. And may all beings everywhere experience joy. May you experience the warmth of your own heart. So may it be so, and starting in the next few days, we'll transition from Taiwanese wildflowers to Costa Rican orchids, which we usually reserve for retreats, and we're bringing them out. So the first one is Radiance. Radiance orchid with boundless wisdom. Eyes of support. And we'll be looking at surrender and vulnerability and releasing a sense of loss and separation, embracing a tangible, visceral sense of inseparability. Thank you so much for being with us on your Saturday evening. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday! Isn't it beautiful? Happy